Welcome to Popcorn Planet's Pop Culture Justice. We are live. This is the main topic that we edit, part of our full live show. If you missed the full live show, we're here live every Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you can watch it as a member. If you're a member, go to the members only tab, the community tabs. You'll see all the member only updates on our streams. Check it out. Thank you guys so much for supporting as members. But I'm so happy because we got Vito here. And Vito, this whole Russell Brand thing has just turned into a dumpster fire online. It is ugly out there. And I thought, let's have a longer conversation about this. Let's talk about the updates, and then we'll talk about it more. But Vito, before we even get to your thoughts, no offense, let me just give you up an update. Everybody a quick update. Look, I've gotten some flack because I seemingly haven't been loudly defending Russell Brand since the beginning. And I'm not going to apologize for that because I do feel like the accusations that came in seemed like serious allegations that I feel like warranted at least a pause of like, all right, Russell, what do you say? Russell denied them before they even came out, but I feel like there was some more specifics. A lot of people had trouble with like, well, this text looked fake and I don't know if it's proof. Okay, well, let's confirm it. If this text, if the evidence, if the kit, the notes, it's all fake, well, then that should be an easy slam dunk win for Russell. That's pretty much what I'm waiting to see what happens. Instead, what's happened is everybody has now canceled him, fired him, etc. And the biggest, most egregious one in my eyes, Vito, is now he's been blocked from YouTube with ads. He's now demonetized. Yeah. Any channel he makes on YouTube is demonetized. And at the beginning, I had some feelings of this and thoughts on Russell, his attitude, etc. But no matter my thoughts, anybody's thoughts, this is too far. These are allegations. YouTube is not a court of law. I don't understand how this happened already. It's been, what, a few days, Vito? It's insane. Yeah. Did this surprise you as well? Regardless of your thoughts on Russell, can you believe YouTube has already demonetized him based on mere allegations?
Well, I'm not actually surprised because they've done this in the past. YouTube seems to have I don't know if this is a stated policy or an unspoken policy, but if a creator is accused of some sexual impropriety, and it is something that, you know, is newsworthy, you know, people are talking about it, they've demonetized creators in the past. Now, I think their logic is, look, our advertisers are here to sell dishwashers and, I don't know, kids' toys. They don't want their ads to run on a guy's channel when the guy, you know, might be hated by people, and then their brand is associated with something, you know, people don't like. So I understand the rationale. It does seem a little too soon, you know, that none of this is substantiated. And again, I also always think, like, do the advertisers really care if their ads are running on Russell Brand's videos? Does anyone even really make that connection that, oh, I can't believe, you know, it's advertising on YouTube. It's not advertising with Russell Brand.
And to that point, like, advertisers can choose which channels they don't do. I remember learning during the trial, like, advertisers the RPM and stuff went down for all of our traffic or all of our content when we covered the trial because advertisers did not want to be on content with Amber Heard, Johnny, and the whole trial. They did it.
So they can specifically choose topics. And
yeah,
say,
they can go in the back and sort of say no Amber videos and no this or no Will Smith slap, whatever they want to deduce. They can go in and adjust that because YouTube gives them that control. So.
Well, then there's really no excuse. If the advertisers individually can choose what they want to be associated with, there's really no reason for YouTube to have this blanket 100%. Policy.
And they are. I feel like they already sort of prorate sort of questionable content. They have YouTube clearly has behind the scenes tiers on who gets Pepsi and who doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, there's different brands and levels and things that I'm sure. And they could have just put Russell Brand in a bucket behind the scenes in the algorithm to be like, all right, anybody doing Russell, they don't get the top tier brands. Yeah, there were ways to punish him behind the scenes, right or wrong, that they could have done. But for them to publicly say, nope, he's demonetized, it's not even a question, it's shocking. And then I learned, and kudos to the Manson files who told me this, Lisa told me this, Marilyn Manson faced the same thing, right? A lot of allegations, Vito. They did not ban his videos or his channel. Evan Rachel did a whole thing saying, remove it, demonetize it, and they didn't. To YouTube's credit, they said, we're monitoring it, we'll keep you posted until he's convicted or something. They made it clear that they weren't going to, and that's, to me, what should happen here. And that's to springboard into what today's topic is. I really want to get into this trial by social media. It is dangerous. And that's what today's topic is going to be. So I want to go through a couple things that we have here. So let's start with this Megyn Kelly clip. She was upset. This was sort of, I think a lot of people were surprised expecting Megyn Kelly to sort of jump on the train of defending Russell, but here's her take.
Tell you guys, I realize that the knee-jerk instinct now by so many is Russell Brand is wrongly accused. These women are all liars. I'm sorry, this is extremely detailed. And in the case of the other woman, there's an actual set of medical records after she went to a rape crisis center the day of the alleged encounter, plus apologetic, begging for forgiveness text from Russell Brand. Could you please, for a second, stay open-minded to the possibility that the women are telling the truth? We don't need to so overcorrect from the Me Too movement that every woman gets completely disregarded and called a liar when she finds the guts to come forward and make an allegation. They may be telling the truth. It's worth investigating. We don't need to knee-jerk condemn him, and we don't need to knee-jerk condemn them. I'm just pissed because what I've seen is like a rash of guys coming out to be like, it's bullshit. You don't know whether it's bullshit or not. Did you read the report of this woman? Did you read the alleged rape details? Did you read the text message that she has from Russell Brand begging for forgiveness? There's at least enough for us to want more facts. That's it. I'll tell you guys.
I'm 100%, and that's where I've been covering it, because it's like I refuse to just be one of the channels that's going to jump in and go, they're lying, they're ambers, they're out there. It's like, this is fake. This is like it's very weird to me, Vito. Have you seen the text? The first publication of that text absolutely did look a little wonky, and it caused a lot of doubt and frustration. Like there was blurry in one spot, etc. Later on, they released a clearer version of it, and then also acknowledged in the reporting that she never deleted her texts. So I took that as like this was just some creation by the Times. I don't know why they made a wonky looking blurry one, but they did.
I was really upset that they did. Like, did they explain why it looked bad?
I don't know, but all it did was cause doubt. And, that a lot of people are like, well, see, but then why would they have done that? Like, were they baiting Russell? Were they trying to get Russell to lie so they could get more of a case? I don't know. I don't know what the reason is, but it sucked. But the reporting said she didn't delete her message, and I've said this in all mine. I don't know if you can even do it, Vito, or if you've tested it. If you go back and text somebody that you haven't texted in 10 years, it's still there. Like, I was like, nah, and I did. An old person I worked with way back ago, I went to my contacts, clicked on the message, and sure enough, I had a text from like 2009, 2010, and it blew my mind. And I was like, well, there you go. If she didn't delete him, and she had him in his phone, and the iCloud was there, then those texts are real. Now, if that's true, then I think he has some trouble. Now, if it's not true, that feels like a very easy thing to discredit. Well, let's look at this verified text. Seems like it's a slam dunk win for him.
That's what drives me nuts about that, is that it's if the texts are fake, he wins immediately, and it's easily provable. Is that he can go, give me your phone, let's put our phone and put it in a court of law and see if these texts actually happened. And if honestly, if he knew they were fake, I would immediately be on every channel going, those texts are 100% fake. The fact that he hasn't come out and said anything like that, I go, well, I think they're probably real, because otherwise you would just immediately, if you knew they were fake, you would just say those are fake.
100%. That's my problem. It's like, I don't want to go just discredit it and say it because of that. Like, there's a lot of reasons it could have been blurry. They could be testing all of us. This could be all scam, Vito, to get all the Depp heads to be like, see, they are the misogynist ones who don't believe women, blah, 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 blah. I'm not taking the bait. I'm going to wait and see what happens here. And I'm going to try to report from both sides. And that's one side. We have Megyn Kelly coming forward saying the pendulum's swinging too hard. And I don't disagree with her. It is scary. Now, here's the other side of the coin. More interestingly, now Rose McGowan was a huge figure in the Me Too movement and with taking down Harvey Weinstein. She's out there, she's responding, and she's frustrated. Now, she's not defending Russell per se, but she is expressing more like, well, who's really doing this? And why are the women anonymous? Here's what she says.
Hold on, can you? Is there a way to pipe it through so I can hear it? Because
I'm. Oh, sorry. Yes, thank you for telling me, because I realized I didn't click the button. Hold on.
Okay.
Vito wants to hear it.
I brought up Megyn's clip, so I didn't.
Here we go. You should be able to hear it now. Here we go. Okay. Here's Rose McGowan.
By saying, I stand with all victims. I think what's being done right now in the Russell Brand case with The Guardian and the other news outlets is part of a concerted effort to turn the public in general against anybody who comes out. And one of the reasons and ways they're doing this is a concerted effort to bend journalistic rules that have always been in place, such as having to be on the record with who you are and what your name is in order to accuse. I didn't make these rules. These are the rules. They were the rules. So there's something very strange going on when these rules are being bent in order to push a narrative. It's almost like Icarus flew too close to the sun. He's a low-lying fish and not one of the truly powerful, so he can be thrown to the wolves. I don't know if he's guilty. I don't know if he's innocent. That's not what this is about. This is about driving us further apart, and mainstream media and media outlets protecting people on a higher up level from true consequence, from what they're really doing and what they're really getting away with. And the real losers in this are actual victims. I am sorry and hurt for anybody who's been hurt. But this narrative and the way it's being done is just pushing this culture war, pushing us farther apart, and pushing any gains gotten by people believing accusers to the edge. And this is a way to have us not be believed. This is not the way the reporting is done. You have to go on the record. It has always been that way. I didn't make it so. It didn't make me happy to have to do so. Neither did it make others happy to have to do so. But to blindly and anonymously accuse, none of these high-level journalistic outlets would have ever let this be published before. So I have to ask why? Why now? What is the true narrative they're pushing?
Good questions. Good questions from Rose McGowan. However, I'm a little confused, Vito.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused. I'm confused because she's not really accurate. You don't have to be, on the record. In fact, I went to both, and thanks to Kim for this, I pulled this. Here's Ronan Farrow's expose on Harvey Weinstein. What is she talking about? There were anonymous women who came forward. Now, in the main piece written by, from the one written, that's the Ronan Farrow one. In the main piece written by Megyn and Jody, the ones who wrote the first article, like even this one, if you search anonymous, officials speaking in a condition of anonymity, even they took some.
We've always had anonymous sources.
Of course you can.
That's a major part of news.
I don't know.
Reporting.
No disrespect, but I hear what she's saying and I want to talk about it. But this idea that you have to go on the record is false. And then I wanted to share, here was House and Habit putting this out. She's wrong, especially in the UK. It's not a rule. You don't have to be on the record with your name and information and make an allegation. Generally, that's incorrect. You have to have your identity known by the police if you make a proper complaint. But if you're going to the Times rather than the authorities, even if they know your name, they have no legal obligation to share that with their readers, and indeed are obligated to offer the source anonymity based on the nature of the allegations. And I mean, aren't there any unnamed source close to X said stories every day in tabloids? So it's wrong that she's saying newspapers have to name sources. Generally, they don't. But it's even more the case of offering anonymity when alleged victims of any form of SA. And for the bar, that's extremely low. So look, I don't know what she's talking about here. It's weird to me because that's not true. And as someone who went and was so loud, against Harvey, and the articles clearly did that. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Now, that said, it's definitely better if you come forward to the police rather than the media. And that's the next piece I really sort of want to talk to. While we have her out there, I do support victim. There was a bunch of pieces coming out that I wanted to sort of discuss as she did that. But I do support victims. I want them to receive justice, and I do want them to be heard, but not through the lens of craftily edited TV shows and sensationalist headlines. There are channels through which crimes are investigated and reported, and this new era of trial by media sets a dangerous precedent for us all. This comes in from Fiona Dodwell, and honestly, she's right. There's something about here. You don't have to stand with brand to recognize the dangers of trial by media. And that's what I want to discuss with you, Vito, because it's true. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Here's another one. Russell Brand from Miss Joe had lost his book deal, his agent, his tour. He's now lost his monetization over allegations. Kevin Spacey's career was ruined over allegations, and he won the court case. But he'll never be the same again. I hope all of you that were preaching be kind with Caroline Flack, killed herself over allegations of abuse. Remember, we have a culture of innocent until proven guilty. Hounding people in the media or on social media is horrific. In person is even worse. The despicable media, who have already convicted Brand, have spent the last 2 days revealing details of his houses, where he lives with his wife and kids, his address, photos of his house. What do you think they expect the results of that to be? I hope that Be Kind Brigade finds some kind of kindness that they advocate for inside his lavish 3.5 million cottage where he lives with his kids and pregnant wife. Yeah, look, I have my own thoughts on Russell on these accusations, Vito. But they're right. We have to be careful. And that's why I haven't tried to like dog them or pile on. We hear accusations. We got to comment, right? We got to react. At the same time, we got to react so then we can see how Russell reacts. He claims to have things to dispute all of this. But do you agree that these seem serious enough that we should pause before condemning or defending the man? What are your thoughts, Vito?
Well, I mean, I think the problem with it's not even a problem. I think it just is a facet of society, is that we are allowed to form an opinion on someone based on evidence that is presented to us. You know, if somebody comes to me and they tell me, hey, that guy Craig, who you know from the bar, you know, he's a horrible guy and, you know, he beat up his wife, I don't have to wait for a police report to go, oh, well, you know, I'll keep an eye out, you know, maybe that guy's not to be trusted. And that's kind of the problem, is once these things are out there, I don't think people have, I think you have a moral obligation to hear people out and be skeptical if the evidence is not 100%. But we do get into this situation where people forget the Me Too movement, or the concept of believe women, was not, you know, every woman who makes an allegation, it's always 100% correct. And if you don't believe them, you know, you're an evil man who's, you know, in league with the abusers. All it meant was, listen, I have a story about abuse that I suffered. I hope you'll hear me out. I hope you'll weigh the evidence that's out there and come to a fair conclusion. The question is, are the conclusions against Brand right now, are they fair? Is it fair that, you know, this article comes out from the evidence that's been presented? You know, is it reasonable to say, well, maybe this is a bad guy? I would say it's very reasonable for people on social media to go, well, based on the information that I've given, the fact that Brand has not tried to disprove any of this evidence. He has not said these texts are fake. He has not said, you know, that these incidents are fake. He did defend himself, but did not offer any specifics. I don't think there's any problem with people on social media going, this could be true, you know, and I'm going to wait for more information to come out. But this is where I'm at. So I don't know. At the end of the day, you can't really stop people from forming opinions based on the evidence they've found. You hope that people will be rational, will look at the evidence, will really try and make sense of it and not jump to a knee-jerk reaction. But ultimately, people are allowed to make up their mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I feel like we're in a place now. It's like everybody's picking a side on this and getting aggressive with it. And then at the same time, all these things that are happening, Russell, things are getting removed. I don't know. Is this too much? Should look, someone said in the comments, and they're right. YouTube is a business that can decide to do this whenever they want, right? They're allowed to decide who's on their platform and who's not. That can frustrate us all we want, but they can do that. Are these companies, you think, should they be allowed to do this, given all the heat that he's facing, to remove all these shows? And I guess it was the BBC. This is an example of that they knew for a while what was going on, but I had another report here where the BBC and others are now removing him from their networks, all the content and shows that he's done. Do you think that's too far?
I think that removing his past content, I don't agree with memory holding things. I don't see what purpose it really solves. So I do disagree with that. You know, it's like, do you need to go out in every Cosby Show DVD? Do you need to break it to make sure nobody ever watches it again? No, I think that's where you start getting to the realm of something silly. But again, I do understand, you know, when people say, what do you call it? That I don't want to advertise on channels this guy's going to be on. You know, I don't want my advertisements running on any TV shows or past broadcasts or whatever else. Like, I can understand individual advertisers making that choice, but I think just having this blanket memory hole thing, it does come across as kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, look, I think we need to wait until it's a serious unless there's like video evidence of him doing this, right? Where everyone's seeing it with their own eyes and we're all like, okay, yeah, this guy is guilty. If there's something clear to it, yeah, I can understand. But I think these organizations are doing a disservice. They need to wait and see what actually happens here. Now, at the same time, all these companies are allowed to do what they want. They're businesses. But regardless of whether they take things out, all of this adds to the pressure of the trial by social media, right? And that happened to me. I've been there. Like I do feel for him to an extent, because it's like, while I have reactions or thoughts or insight, what doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, these people didn't go to the court of law or the police. They went to the media. They gave the media, which is a third party, an opportunity to use their own tricks and narratives and revenue, etc., to persecute this man. And that's scary. It is a dangerous, scary precedent that, I don't know, should we be worrisome if victims come forward to the press before the authorities veto? Is that a red flag that maybe we all should start taking more seriously and say, look, if this guy did a crime and something to you that you want to actually end this guy's life over and his career, you need to take it to the authorities, not the press. What do you think?
Well, I don't think that we have this. I'm going to disagree with you that I don't think you have some sort of obligation to, if you've been wronged, that you have to involve law enforcement. I think you as a private individual can say, you can have many different reasons for why you don't feel the need to go to the cops, that this is something that you want to handle in the way you want to handle it. And maybe you don't want to handle it immediately. Maybe you go, right now I think I'm okay with it. And then later on in life, you go, you know what? I changed my mind. Now that I think about it, what I was okay with, and I was okay with what happened, or I had made sense of it or justified it in my own way. Years later, I look back on that incident and I go, no, what was done to me was wrong. I was naive. I was young. I accepted it as part of Hollywood. And now I've decided, no, I take issue with it. I don't think there's any reason someone who has a personal story of being wronged that we tell them, well, because you didn't go to the cops at the time, you're no longer allowed to tell the truth of what happened to you. And remember, this could be the truth. It could be a truthful story, something that genuinely happened to these women. And I can't tell them, well, you can't tell that truth because you didn't inform law enforcement at the time. People, if something happens to you, you can tell that story. Nobody has to believe you. They can say, well, you don't have any way to prove it. You don't have any court documents, and that's fine as well. But I think this idea, a lot of people go that, this story is immediately discredited because the cops weren't involved. I reject that hypothesis.
It's interesting because it's like, my question was more, do we take them more seriously if they go to the press instead of the police? But I agree, everybody has a right to tell their story, and we all have a right whether to believe them. But the fact is, what I'm getting at is all these companies canceling him. I hate using that word in this instance, but they are. Because this is canceling because it's not yet proven, right? They're all reacting to things and removing him from things and trying to, devalue him and demonize him, etc., based on allegations. And now if those allegations are true, then it's not really canceling. It was, crimes, but they did it before we were able to evaluate. So I guess that's my point of, like, if you want to go forward and do that to somebody, shouldn't you go to the authorities before the press for us to take it seriously? If you just want to be heard and it's out in the void, then so be it. But I meant more like, for us to take seriously, for companies like YouTube to demonetize someone, should we take one more greater than the other?
Well, I mean, but people can do actions that aren't even illegal and can be justifiably lose their monetization or whatever, their advertising and their sponsors. There's people who act immorally, and though it wasn't criminal, I'm trying to think of like a good example. Like somebody who yells at, he just uses a racial slur, let's say. That's not criminal. You can use racial slurs, but obviously, it's the kind of behavior where advertisers go, well, I don't want to be associated with that. It doesn't fit my brand. Brand is a good word. And I think that's kind of the thing, is that a lot of people are really tied up in this. You can't just act on this because there's no court case and there's no documentation or whatever else. But frankly, you're allowed to act on the information you have, and the information that we have is frankly, some seemingly credible texts of sexual misbehavior. It's something that society frowns on. The law doesn't necessarily need to enter into it, I don't think.
So
It makes your let's put it this way: it makes your case stronger, but I can't dismiss your case simply based on the fact that you didn't run to the cops. I've had incidents, where things were stolen from me, where people ripped me off in a business deal. And I live in LA. The LAPD are wildly incompetent morons who, frankly, if I went to them with evidence of a crime, they'd go, well, how do I know you're not a criminal? Let me investigate. I don't want to talk to the cops at all. So I completely identify with somebody going, you know what, I didn't go to the cops because I felt like it was a waste of time, or it wasn't going to get me anywhere, or I wouldn't be believed. Like, I can understand not wanting to get law enforcement involved for a number of reasons. And I'm not going to tell somebody their account isn't credible, or that you can't make an opinion of someone without having some sort of legal documentation.
well, yes, there's a lot more I'm going to discuss about this. I'm curious what you guys think. We're going to do a poll, but we have some breaking news coming in that we're going to go to now. If you missed it on the live, hit that join button, watch the whole show. If you're watching live, don't go anywhere. Make sure to go follow Vito over on YouTube. Look him up, Vito, and Vito Comedy on Twitter. Always appreciate your insight, and I want to talk some more. But that's the update you got. What do you guys think? Tell us in the comments down below, and thank you for watching here on Popcorn Planet.